Well, last week, the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation advanced legislation to reauthorize the Federal Aviation Administration. Now, the bill's advancement comes following several high-profile airplane safety episodes, including an incident last month where the emergency exit door blew off of a plane mid-flight. And as media reports have recently exposed, internal meetings at the FAA have shown the agency more focused on DEI initiatives than public safety. Could a distracted agency create the environment for an aviation disaster? Joining me now to discuss this is Congressman Tim Burchett. He serves on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. He represents the 2nd Congressional District of Tennessee. Congressman Burchett, welcome back to Washington Watch. Good to see you.
Great seeing you, Tony. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Well, before we get into the details about the problems at the FAA, let's discuss the Reauthorization Act that is moving forward. You serve on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. When the House passed this last year, you said it was loaded with pork, DEI, and Green New Deal, and that it was a lobbyist wish list. Well, it's now advanced in the Senate. What's next?
Well, unfortunately, if the senators don't collectively get some guts, that it will pass, and I'm sure it will go to the president because his agenda is fully in there. You know, the FAA should be about safe air travel, and we've seen lately how that just isn't the case, and we've seen the priorities that this administration is for the DEI, is for the politically correct, is for how many, transgender, whatever you have. I mean, it's across the board. When you talk about our State Department and what they're promoting overseas, it should be capitalism, democracy, but it's loaded with drag shows and millions of dollars promoting those types of things. And you just got to wonder how that ever happened. And mainly because I think 20 million so-called conservatives and evangelical Christians decided to stay home on Election Day.
Yeah, elections have consequences, and we're seeing those play out before us. I mean, in the Transportation Committee, and you're absolutely right, we've tracked this in our foreign policy and how the State Department is leaning on many countries, especially many African countries that are pro-life, to adopt their pro-abortion agenda. But when you look at the Department of Transportation, you sit on that committee, that's under Mayor Pete Buttigieg, and his agenda, I mean, it's had deadly consequences. I mean, some record number of train derailments, accidents, but now we're talking about the airlines where they are preoccupied with advancing this radical social agenda at the risk of the safety of the American public.
100%. We've just seen them do an about face to anything of reason that, across the board, though. We really the fox in the hen house, this one. They are not backing down one bit. And the only thing they're going to understand, unfortunately, is the dollar. And we don't have the guts to cut them off. We should be exercising our authority, Congress, and collectively shutting these departments down till they start doing what they're supposed to do and get out of all this other nonsense. Because we're going to see more lives lost. We're going to see devastation, I'm afraid. And it's just it fits right into this whole anarchy type thing. I mean, look at our border situation, for goodness sakes. Look at our spending. We take in $5 trillion, we spend $7 trillion, and we keep. And we get into every war on this globe, just about, and yet we won't defend our own border. Right. To me, the whole it's obscene, really. And these people are anarchists. They hate our country. They hate the American way. They hate our veterans. They hate our flag. They hate our God. They hate everything that has made us strong. It destroy us.
It defies reason why, and I don't want to get too far off on this, on the border discussion, but we won't secure our own border, but yet we'll send $95 billion overseas. That makes absolutely no sense, because if we don't take care of America first, there'll be no America to take care of others. I mean, this is absolutely. I mean, this is elementary. It's not hard.
Yeah, I'm afraid the money changers are in the temple, and
maybe we need to drive a few of them out.
I agree. I think we need to turn the tables, so to speak, and throw them out. I always get aggravated with people about Jesus. He was a very kind man, but he didn't ask them to leave the temple. He threw them out. And I think we need to get some guts in this country and throw some of these money changers out, because they are destroying us to our roots. I mean, to our one thing COVID showed us, parents started looking over their little darling shoulders in education and on these computers and this filth that they were getting. Can you imagine a day? I could not imagine a day I'm 50 now, in my life where a parent goes to a school board meeting and says, "Hey, I don't want you putting literally pornography out to my child, to my single age, 7, 8, 9-year-old child," and they are labeled by our own federal authorities as domestic terrorists. The Bible talks about right is wrong and up is down and left is right. We are clearly in the throes of that right now, top to bottom.
What woe to those who call evil good and good evil, and we're seeing that right before us. I want to play this clip. This comes from the Deputy Chief Operating Officer, Angela McCullough, with the FAA. Now, this was a video conference call that was obtained by the Daily Wire's Matt Walsh and was released. I'm going to play this clip.
Your whole program is very heavily male-dominated. It just is. And really, it is white male dominated. Let's just say what it is. And then let's talk about what could the future look like if we really had this program that was representative of the whole country, right, of the whole world.
All right, I think you could hear that, but it says that their whole program is very heavily male-dominated. It just is, and really it is white male-dominated. I mean, let's just say what it is, and then let's talk about what could the future look like if we really had this program that was representative of the country, right, of the whole world. What happened to the safety of the public and getting the best qualified? Where'd that go?
What happened to us? I say, put the best player in, coach. This is ridiculous. The criteria ought to be who is the most qualified, period. These quotas that we have, my father, a World War II Marine, he warned me about these days. He said, eventually it's going to get past race. It's going to get past sex. It's going to get down into the transgender, everything else that you're seeing. And that's why we're seeing this difficulty. That's why we're seeing our military recruitment is at an all-time low. It's because red-blooded Americans, men and women who want to do what's right, are continuously, obviously, are being screened out of these processes, and we are not putting our best players in. And that is not, physics, an airplane going through the air, that's a ball. It doesn't matter if you're a purple unicorn from New York. If you don't tighten that bolt down, as we saw in these doors or what have you, are flying off of these jets, if they're not completed, we will have accidents. And it's not like, let's say you're going on the highway, you're up 30,000
right.
feet in the air. And we are going to have a major catastrophe if we continue down this path. And, I pray for our president. I pray for the Democrat Party. I pray for the Republicans. I pray for everybody in leadership. But, if you saw our president during that press conference, he's not control of his mental faculties. I don't know who's in control of it right now.
Well,
we are in tires.
That actually brings up, this is not something that's hidden that we don't know about. This is actually on the FAA's and Department of Transportation's website. Now, under Pete Buttigieg, they've established a goal of hiring employees with what are called, and I'm just quoting it, severe disabilities. This includes severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability. They're specifically putting these folks in in a non-competitive hiring, meaning they can just hire them on the spot without actually having to hire the best qualified persons for these positions. I mean, now we don't know what positions they're putting them in, but given the track record of this Department of Transportation and where the FAA is going, I'm very concerned as a citizen who flies a lot.
Yeah, I fly twice a week, at least, a minimum. And so I'm very concerned. I look at these things after having a closed door meeting with the FAA over this latest catastrophe, or avoided, nobody died, but they sure as heck could have. I'm always, when I walk in an airplane, I'm looking at these things that they described. And I'm wondering if the people that are briefing me were put in that job not because of the qualifications that they had or their brain power, but because they were checking a box somewhere to satisfy some left-wing quota criteria. This just doesn't work anymore. It never has, and it never will. But again, elections have consequences. This should scare the Hades out of Americans for good reason. If you saw the press conference, who's running our country is a poor old man. I used to be angry about it. Now I just have pity on him. It is a sad, sad situation. And that is what's running these departments. They've allowed the 22-year-old Marxists right out of college to have influence because they're being educated in public colleges and institutions. I mean, my friend AOC, she's my friend, but she has a degree in economics from a public college institution. That should tell you enough right there where we're headed as a country.
Very quickly, one of the other aspects that you brought up about reauthorization was that the lobbying interest took precedent over public safety. Very quickly, speak to that.
Yes, sir. If they get their part, they don't care about anything else. If they get their $1 billion funding for whatever widget or whatever program they're pushing, that's what they do. And so, and that's why you have $35 trillion in debt, is because you get a 2,000-page bill, you find 2 sentences that affect your district, some contractor, then you vote for it. That's why we need clean legislation, single-issue bills like we do in Tennessee. Tennessee has zero debt. We need to adopt that policy and do that. It won't, as you know, most of those bills don't see the light of public.
Yeah.
The Unipart, we need to clean the house.
I could not disagree. In fact, I couldn't agree more. Senator, Congressman Tim Burchett, always great to see you. Thanks so much for taking time to join us this afternoon.